What is up, watch friends? Welcome to another episode of Talking Timepieces with Tony. Today is Friday, and I am wearing my Mont Blanc Heritage, just salmon dial, beautiful watch, extremely underrated, which is fine because I have one, and not many other people do. But they're just extraordinary watches, believe it or not. No watch ball question Q&A today. Again, I'm not getting questions. I did get one question from Metagirl, but I'm gonna answer that when I get a couple more questions. So, and I'm trying also to find a better way to make this more fun with the watch ball instead of me just whatever. So I'm just figuring that out. I do have some ideas, but hey, having said that, it's Friday. We're having a drink. Grab yourself a drink. Let's talk about Rolex. So let's roll the intro and we'll do it.
You're watching Timepieces with Tony. Talking Timepieces with Tony. You're watching Talking Timepieces with Tony.
Yeah. Alrighty. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the AD journey, the authorized dealer journey, my journey, and maybe you can have a similar journey. Again, I'm wearing my beautiful Mont Blanc, and this is, there's so many people that they tell me their story of like, well, I've been waiting for years, and I've been waiting for years. I'm tired of waiting, and again, I can't speak for everybody else, but there's a right way and a wrong way to do this. Okay, so you got to keep in mind that I've been in the watch game for so long, compared to most people. It's not like I mean, I started my YouTube channel in 2016, my original one. I don't have it anymore. We all know about that. But my journey started many years ago. I used to buy and sell watches, and I was a watchmaker. And when I say a watchmaker, I was a watch designer, and I assembled my watches. And I was featured in one of the biggest watch magazines that was not paid advertising on my part. They invited me, Watch Time Magazine, to be a part of their buyer's guide in 2005. So when I started buying and selling watches, it was very early 2000. I was in the music industry, and I was looking. I've just had a passion for watches since I was such a young kid. But I'm not going to talk about that. I am going to talk about the journey, the AD journey. All right. And there's a fine line because the thing is you have to make an impression on your sales associate or your authorized dealer. What's going to make you stand out from the 100 other people that week that are asking for a Submariner or a Datejust or whatever? I do think it's getting a little easier, but in my case, let's start on a different tier later in my life, because when I was young and going into like Benbridge Jewelers or whatever, you didn't really have this AD thing, and it wasn't no wait lists. You could get any watch you wanted. It was pretty easy, So things have changed. So am I, right? So essentially, you know, you have to, it's a fine line, right? So um, essentially, uh, let's start in 2018. Okay. So, because prior to that, there's so many things that had happened in my life, where I had money and I had watches, and then I didn't have any. And then I didn't buy any watches for years, and let's go with 2018. I decided to go into Bindi Jeweler in the Glendale Galleria to buy a Cartier tank. And I walked in there, and of course, they had um, Cartiers and other brands and Zenith, whatever you name it. And I was looking at the tank. Now, keep in mind, I walked in there wearing a Rolex Datejust that I had previously from, I think that model was a 1990s, mid 90s. I can't remember the reference number. And I thought, well, since I already have a 36 millimeter Datejust, I'm going to buy a Cartier. Perfect sort of balance of two really nice watches. And I looked at a couple other watches. I essentially, the sales rep I was dealing with when she was showing me the Cartier honestly didn't know anything about watches. She was just there like eye candy, so to speak. I don't appreciate that. I think I want to talk to someone who actually knows about watches, not just someone who's easy to look at on the eyes, if that makes sense. So I said to her, I go, well, all right, I'm probably going to buy the Cartier. So let's hang on to this. But I want to go into Rolex because Bindi Jewelers, they have a bigger store across from the store that they have right now at the Glendale Galleria that's been being renovated for the last few years. So, but in that bigger store, they had a separate room for Rolex, and of course, separate sales associates that were selling Rolex as opposed to the standard reps at the time in 2018. So I wanted to go look at Rolex. I walked in. The girl introduced me to another lady who was the sales associate that I dealt with for Rolex, and basically just said, "Look, this is what I want. I already know what I want. So when you're going into an AD, you have to know what you want. You can't just be like, oh, I just want a Rolex and I don't care what it is. They don't want to hear that. So I eventually bought um, the Rolex Datejust white dial, Roman numerals, uh, with the hidden clasp Jubilee bracelet, and it was a 36 millimeter, and I got it at that time. Retail on it was $6,750, and I got a 10% discount, so I walked out the door having only paid $6,750. Now, from that point on, my journey, it was like I didn't buy my next watch from Bindi until uh, I want to say, where are we at now? 23, 2021. So it was several years, and I'd bought plenty of other watches in between, but just not at Bindi Jewelers. So um, I think it was 2021. Gosh, I want to say 2021. I almost want to say it was 2020, but I think it was 2021. Um, I was almost unaware of how hard it is to get Rolex, even Oyster Perpetuals. Man, they had a plethora of Oyster Perpetuals when I went in and bought my Datejust. I mean, so so I'm gonna start. Let's say now 2021. All right. Granted, I do have history of buying the one Rolex from Bindi, but they don't care because that was a few years previously. And that's like, well, what have you done for me lately, kind of thing, right? So I called Bindi and I said, hey, I'm looking to get an Oyster Perpetual, and they were like, well, we don't have any, you can't get them, you know what I mean? And so I was like, well, do you have Cartier? And because I hadn't bought that Cartier tank that I was looking at previously, and they said, well, yeah, we got Cartiers, come on in. So when I went into Bindi this time, uh, they have a security guy at the door. I opened the door, and one is my sales rep at Bindi. Just happened to be right there. Can I help you? And I said, yeah, I initially called about Rolex. And he goes, well, Rolex is over here. And I went, well, wait. I know you guys don't have any, so I'm looking to maybe get a Cartier. He goes, oh, okay, great. So we talked about watches, and they didn't have the tank that I wanted. And I was like, oh man, but I previously bought a Rolex and that's what I really wanted. But as the sales manager walks by, heard me saying that I'd previously bought a Rolex, because we have one in stock, and they gave me the Cartier. They had the Cartier. But in the meantime, how did I talk to my rep? They have so many people coming in and asking. You've got to make an impression on them. All right. Now, you don't have to beg, you don't have to grovel or any of that. You just have to go in and be yourself. Now, if you are an asshole, and that's how you genuinely are, you're more than likely going to be an asshole, and you're going to come across like that, and they're not going to want to sell you, the Rolex or whatever. Get on the list. You've got to. There's that fine line. They have to like you. You know what I mean? Now, granted, not everybody likes you. I've said this before. You can go into a Starbucks and you have the same person who gives you a coffee every day, and even give you a free coffee because they really like you, and then that next day they might not be there, and there's another uh, person selling your coffee, and they may have had a bad night before. Maybe they just don't want to be at work today, and they don't like your humor. They don't like, and you're just like, fuck it, just give me my coffee and let's get out of here, man. So that happens anywhere in any type of sales environment, right? I'm sure you've all dealt with it. So they really do have to like you. Now, if you go in there, and lucky for me, I am a huge watch fan in general. I am just a watch enthusiast, and it's not just Rolex, and it's not just Cartier, it's Zenith, and just it's just all these other brands that I really like. So it was easier for me to buy other watches, granted. But some people sit there and say, well, I only want a Rolex. I only want a Rolex, and I only want a Daytona, or I only want a Submariner. You're not going to get it, not at the AD. It's kind of like Patek Philippe, which I did in my last video. That their whole philosophy is, if you go in there and all you want is a Nautilus, you're never going to get it. So in this case, your best bet is to just hit the gray market. If you're not willing to spend any more money, and again, I'm not saying this for everyone. Other ADs, people have had experiences where they just walked off the street and managed to get their date just or whatever. I'm not saying this is like, solid. This is how it is everywhere. I live in Hollywood. I live in Los Angeles, and here it's different too. I don't have to dress up in a suit and tie and go in. So, but you don't want to be fake either. You know what I mean? And you don't want to walk in there and just tell them what you do for a living, because they don't fucking care. For the most part, they may be curious. And unless they ask you, you don't have to walk in and go, well, I'm a doctor, or I'm a this, or I'm a that, or whatever it is. Just carry yourself in a good manner and strike up a conversation. Also, don't go walking in there, start kissing their ass before they even get to know you. You know what I mean? It's just building a slow, steady relationship. If they don't have the Rolex you want, say, start with something else they may have. You've got to like other watches. If you're just that, narrow-minded, where you just have to have a Rolex and nothing else, then again, go to the gray market, because instead of having to spend thousands of dollars that you don't want to spend, additional to your Rolex, then you might as well just spend that extra money. And right now is the best time to buy a watch because of the market the way it is, right? So you make a good impression. And again, if you go in, and just be yourself, be, I don't know, just be genuine, down to earth, make it easy for them to like you and want to deal with you. Keep in mind, they've got however many people that they have that want the same watch you do. What's going to trigger them to want to say, hey, I remember that guy, John, who came in. I want to give it to him. Because they can pick and choose who they want to give it to. They don't have to give it to you just because you say you want to get on the list. You know what I mean? So they have to find, and again, I've said this before too, buying a watch is a very selfish act, isn't it? You're just buying something for yourself. But when you get that AD calling you, it's someone who thought about you and said, hey man, I was thinking about you, and I got this watch for you if you want it. Keep in mind, if you say no, it's okay, because guess what? There's 100 other people in line that'll take it just like that, right? So, just you've got to be cool. You've got to be down to earth, man. Don't go in there bragging, saying how you could buy and sell them. You can't do that. Even if, I don't care how rich you are, you can't just walk into Ferrari and buy your first Ferrari and have it be an F40. Well, they don't make the F40, but you know what I'm saying. It's like, and like, or a Porsche GT Carrera. You can't just buy that car. You know what I mean? You get screened and vetted and all these things, and you have to be a previous customer in order to even get it. Or for them to consider you to get it. So there, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. It's in a sense like a rich man's game, and I'm not rich, but I'm just saying that if you want to play the game, these are the things you have to do. And spend a little money. If an AD recommends another watch brand, because most ADs, they sell other watch brands, check out what they have. Be open minded. Buy another watch. It's like, but just be cool. Tell them, what are your goals? What are your goals? My goals for 2015. I just said that, really. It's essentially, let them like let them get to know you. All right. And if they like you, you'll get the watch, but be prepared, to spend a little bit of extra money. It's just like, again, with if you only want a Daytona, go gray market, because you're never going to get your Daytona. Well, I don't care if it takes 5 years to wait. You're going to be waiting 5 years, and so I think I'm rambling a little bit, but at the same time, Rolex did increase their prices, so I'm glad I got my OP and my Submariner before the price increase, because my OP retailed at $6,150. They're up at now $6,400. My Submariner was 8,950. I think they went up about $150 too. 8,009, whatever. 8,008. Fuck, I can't remember now. But anyway, there was a price increase. I don't know if there was anything else I really wanted to talk about. But at the same time, just if you're going to start your Rolex AD journey, and now again, without trying to ramble again too much, it's probably going to be a little bit easier, hopefully coming up with them, making more watches. But who knows? It's up to the ADs, and I know when I compare it to Patek Philippe, I know Patek Philippe makes 60,000 watches a year, whereas Rolex make about 1 million watches a year. So there is a big difference. And of course, Patek Philippe are far more exclusive than Rolex, but Rolex is really more popular. So, having said that, I hope that I made sense, and I hope you understand what I'm talking about, and I hope that you can get your watch of your dreams. But other than that, man, enjoy your Friday, and we'll talk soon.